Ryan, you're obviously a much bigger guy, but you're very open on your social media about special things that you take.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my entire YouTube is based off of.
So Ryan openly talks about gear use, right? And I don't know all the stuff that goes into it. In my head, I'm just like, they're all just steroids, but I mean, there's different stuff to it, right?
Essentially, they're all anabolic steroids, essentially, when it comes to PEDs.
Right.
So it all comes down to it. I mean, I'm 34. I did my first cycle when I was 20.
Right.
No idea what I was doing. No idea who I was getting it from. You're buying horse needles from Tractor Supply, reusing them 3 times over. You know, it's. What's
your thoughts on? Because I feel like there's 3 different types of people that take steroids. There's people that take it and admit that they take steroids. There's people that take it and then deny that they take steroids. And then there's people that take it and just never get into the conversation of are you or are you not natural, and they just never get into it. So they just never get into a conversation like that. What are your thoughts on? I guess I'd say probably like the new youthful generation, that it's very open that people talk about it nowadays, that a lot of people are on it. A lot of people they're open about it at like such a young age. It's kind of a new fitness generation.
It's kind of like the cool thing nowadays. It's kind of weird, especially if maybe it's just my TikTok, maybe it's just my Instagram. It's like, that's like the big thing with a lot of the 21, 20, 22-year-olds, that a lot of people are open about what they're doing. Yeah. And it seems a lot less demonized as it was back when I did it. I mean, because I guess back when I did it, it wasn't an Instagram. You didn't really have people to talk to about it. So it was just kind of naturally hushed. But I feel like most people are very, very open about it. But at the same time, most people that are on gear look like shit.
Well, I think everyone now, it sucks seeing the new generation, because I look at all these kids who are like 21, 22, and I'm like, you look 10 times better than I do, and I've been training for 10 years. You've been training for 3.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know if, I look back at when I started social media, no one really looked like that. You were either a Ronnie Coleman or you were like a Maxx Chewning. I mean, I have pretty poor genetics, but like you were just like an average looking guy who tried to lift in the gym. Now everyone's coming out looking like gods at 22 years old.
My only concern about this is that I think it's great that people are open and transparent. I think if people are honest, that's the best policy. But on the flip side of that, I hate to think that you have all these influencers that are like 20, 21, taking all this gear, openly talking about it, showing how to inject, dosages, cycles, all that stuff. And then you're having this generation of kids, 15, 16 years old, that are looking up to these guys as role models. They're doing steroids way too young. I mean, I didn't do my first steroid cycle. I think I was 24 years old. They say you should wait till you're like 25 for your growth plates and everything to mature. You might know the actual scientific words behind all that.
Yeah, the best is to be fully matured before you do anything. But no one really does that. But
I'll never be fully matured, so
well, and you don't want to be. It's fine. But it's just if I could go back, I wouldn't have. I would have waited. I mean, because I've been on hormone replacement for 7 years.
But you're a big guy. Even if you didn't take gear, you would still be a large. You wouldn't look like a me. You know,
I don't have that body type. But like when I hurt my neck last year, I didn't lift or do anything. I was off everything for roughly 5 months.
Right.
And I just turned into a completely different human. And I don't look, I mean, I don't think I look bad, but I surely don't look like some of these other guys out there. I just don't have really the patience for it, nor the genetics for it.
Do you want to know what the #1 reason why I've never taken anything in my entire life is?
Scared you're gonna die.
That's exactly it. I'm literally, so I just found out, I did an interview with my brother, and he just started TRT replacement therapy, right? And I said TRT replacement therapy. That's kind of, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But I always thought, you know, when people are flicking the needle and they get the bubble out, right? The bubble. And I always thought that if the bubble went into you, you died.
So here's the thing, that is a big misconception.
This blew my mind, Ryan.
So if you're going to intravenously, if you know, say you're shooting dope, you don't want a bubble in there. It actually takes 8 cc's of air in your muscle to kill you because you're injecting in your muscle.
I thought 1 bubble, you're dead.
You actually want a little bit of air in there. That way it pushes everything out.
See, what's crazy is I think there's people that think the same way I do. They're like, I thought the bubble kills you. So I thought if I ever, you know, injected steroids, I would get the bubble and I would die.
No, that's why you aspirate. That's why you make sure you're in the muscle. Because when you're in the muscle and you pull back, if you pull air, that means you're in the muscle. If you pull fat or blood, it means you're not, obviously. But yeah, no, it's...
Am I supposed to be aspirating?
What about your ass?
Aspirating and you pull back and make sure you're actually in the muscle.
Wait, so you're saying when I fully bury that needle in me, I'm I'm supposed to pull out a little bit.
Then you pull back in the plunger a little bit. Make
really?
Well, he's still alive.
Missed that memo for 2 years.
He's like, I've been injecting bubbles my entire life. Well, yeah, I guess it's just an interesting new kind of generation. Now it's like the standard to look this certain way, whereas kind of when I started, everyone looked very normal. Now if you look normal, you look like, you're like, do you even lift?
I have this sneaking suspicion, though, back to what I was saying earlier, that all of this promotion of the steroids, we're going to see some health consequences some of these guys are going to face in their 20s, early 30s. I have a feeling we're going to start seeing that stuff.
Obviously, it's a different level now, but we're kind of – so the big thing with steroids is, especially with IFBB pros, is we never knew what was going to happen as they got older. That was kind of like, we know what steroids do in the meantime, but we don't know what the long-term effects are. And now we're starting to see that.
Everyone's dying.
Well, you have people like Jay Cutler, who Jay Cutler looks phenomenal, right? He was a mass monster. He was huge, won Olympia, and now he looks great. But then you have people, Ronnie Coleman's had what, 14 back surgeries?
Right. But he also was a
freak,
big power lifter as well.
Well, he was squatting 800 pounds.
Yeah, that also didn't help. Yeah.
No. But then you had McCarver that died. You had Rich that died.
Boston Lloyd.
Yeah, Boston Lloyd did a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah.
You had the Bull that died. I forget what the other guy's name is. But now you're starting to see what that crazy kind of stuff does.
Yeah.
And the big thing is your heart. That is the main. That is something we know definitively, that it makes your heart grow.
I heard you need that.
Yeah. You don't want to. That is one muscle you don't want to grow.
Yeah. No. Absolutely not. That's crazy, man. And it's just wild to see the kind of the different generation of like the standard. Now everyone feels like they have to be on it to get brand deals, to get things, because if they're not, they're just gonna be a normal guy. And I feel like trying to come up like I did isn't possible anymore.
What's I've always struggled not being like, I always wanted to be that super jacked fitness guy, and I feel like me and you have very similar genetics.
Shit.
Yeah, not good.
You look like shit. I look like shit.
But here's the thing, though. Like, I always try not to speak that over myself, that I have shit genetics. I definitely don't have optimal genetics, because we could have it way worse.
Yeah,
we really could. But we have like the same forearms. We have like the same. I get veiny. Yeah, super veiny. I can shred really easily. But like, as far as just getting bigger, even when I'm pumping gear, it's just, I can get a little bit bigger, but I just don't think my bone structure is. No. In such, like, dude, my hips are so wide. For me to look like I have a V-taper is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I think even if for me now, I would never do it because there's no benefit for me. Like, would I like to have my muscles bigger? Sure. Would I like to lift more weights? Sure. But will it help me, move forward in life at a faster rate? Absolutely not. No one will care that I can lift more weight or am I bigger just because of my kind of profession. I feel like, not that like there's justification on it, but I feel like if it helps with your money, that's where people get into it. But then that's where I don't have a problem with anyone taking gear. I'm more of someone that I don't like when, even if people are quiet about it, I just don't like when people are like, no, I do not take steroids, when people who, I don't know if they're just oblivious to what people like you can naturally look like. Because I look at someone and I'm like, I can tell that you're not natural.
Right.
And people are just like, no, Max, because you look like shit. I'm like, no. I'm like, live for 10 years and come back to me and tell me if you look a tenth like that guy.
I mean, Simeon Panda is still claiming natty. I mean, so is Brad Castleberry. So it's, I think at this point they're just committed.
Yeah, I feel like they dug themselves into a hole doing it for years if they were to finally come out.
I guess it's more just like, people got to live with themselves. I just don't like when people lie about it and then sell programs to be like, you can look like me, because I lift like this. It's like, no, I think you're lying to people. You're giving people false expectations.
I just don't like when people lie in general.
Yeah.
That's it. Good. Just be open, honest, and real.
And they always say that the worst personal trainer is the guy that looks the best.
Yeah.
You always want the guy that used to look like shit and now looks great, because that's what the general population typically is. For a guy that just has great genetics, it just looks good year round, and he's like shit, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I say the same thing about gear. You always want to take experience or knowledge from the guy that really doesn't look the best, because some of these guys can just do dumb shit and just look phenomenal.
Yeah, it really does come down to a lot of the genetics.
Oh yeah,
I could take all the same steroids as anyone, Ronnie Coleman, and I'm not going to look like Ronnie Coleman.
No, at your age, like your brother HRT, if you ever wanted to, I guarantee your levels aren't optimal because of your age and the fact that you've dieted and trained for quite a long time, and that's what you typically see, especially guys that do shows. Guys that do shows typically already naturally have low T. Dieting that hard kills your natural test levels.
Well, whatever.
Stick with what works, man.
I know, dude.
What is going on, guys? I am Maxx Chewning, your host. I hope you enjoyed this little clip. If you want to see the full, magical, lovely episode, just click the link down in the description or search Don't Be Sour on your favorite podcast streaming service. And remember, thank you for tuning in.